Hi everyone, this is Country Music News International. My name is Nigel Sharpe, and my guest today is Chris Kasper, who is sitting all the way across the big pond, somewhere in the USA, but I don't know where.
It's about 45 minutes south of Philadelphia.
Oh,
So,
right, okay.
yeah, in the
Uh,
countryside, Chester
yeah,
County.
nice
Yeah,
one. Yeah, so let's get to some music. Now, you've
sure.
got a new album out
Yeah.
with the title Sunlight, sorry, I'll try that again. Sunlight in an Empty Room,
Yeah.
which is a very nice title, I might say.
Thanks.
Is there any kind of particular reason behind that? Any kind of little
Well,
story?
yeah, I mean, I just like the way the image it has, but it's also the name, kind of the name of a painting by Edward Hopper, and the painting was called "Sun in an Empty Room."
Right.
And it's just a very stark painting. There's not much going on, except that these great, beautiful angles of light and just this idea of light filling a room and having being an empty vessel for light to come in. I just loved that idea. And so I was gonna, I was just kicking around the idea, daylight in an empty room, day in an empty room, or take the title exactly as the painting, sun in an empty room. And then just, from there, just kind of evolved into sunlight in an empty room. I thought it just had the best ring to all of it and felt musical in itself, just the
Yeah,
name.
it
Yeah,
does. And the actual cover of the album, is that that picture?
that's a real picture. Alicia Arcano, I believe her name is. She's a photographer from Peru. And just looking for ideas to maybe either like work off of. I found her, and all of her art is pretty empty, and and it really kind of spoke to me and being like, oh, this is kind of what I was looking for, just this emptiness being filled by sunshine and a
I was just going to pick up on that word empty. If we're moving on to the music of the album, and earlier today I was listening to the whole thing through. Well, perhaps empty is not is not quite the right word to describe music, but in terms of the instrumentation and the arrangements, sparse is a word I might put in there.
yeah.
And I read some of the notes about it too, whereby you came together to record the album without having rehearsed it previously.
Hmm.
So how long? Well, first of all, how long did it take you to record?
We did it in a weekend, a
Wow.
3-day weekend, and we stayed to the early morning hours at the very, toward the end. So we put in a very, very long weekend. And then I went back a few months later uh, to do another 2 songs. We did 8 songs in one weekend, and then I went back to do another three, and that only took a day. And we
Right.
did three in that day, and then it was all mixed very quickly, and it was just we were running on the momentum of everything, which is different. A lot of records I've made take years, a lot of time to just record. And this, I didn't want to go through that again. The last one I put out, I started before the pandemic, and then it ended. By the time I put it out, the pandemic had come and gone, and it was just this drawn out process that it drove me kind of nuts.
Yeah, I
And I
believe
didn't
it.
want to do that again. And the other thing I realized is that I really like the demos and the initial recordings of a lot of that record. And when we went in, I love what we did. We put a lot of strings and beautiful ornaments on everything, but I didn't think at the end it made it really any better. It made the songs any better. So I wanted to go in with this idea of trying to capture the demo of this vulnerability of people playing together who weren't really sure about the song, so their ears were open in a different way and they reacted in a little different way because no one really had solid ground on what was happening. And that I think really is where the magic happens when you get those first take type of beautiful things. I think it's because of that. It's just this the ears are open a little different, the players are they hold back just a little bit, and it's not coming in strong like some big rock music. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that. It's just I always enjoyed this idea of people sounding like they're playing together and playing off of each other. And I think that was one of the reasons going in without demos really, really worked and made it so quick and made it happen so quick. Plus, the
Yeah.
players I was playing with were just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, that always helps.
It always
Um,
helps.
yeah, that kind of unpredictability, I think that sparks creativity as well. As you're saying, people feed off each other. Had you actually written all the songs before you went into the studio?
Maybe 80% of the rough idea for most of them. There was only one song I had written, and it was the first song on the record, Cold, Cold World.
Yeah, one of the aspects of the album, as a whole, the entity, there is this kind of very warm, live feel to it. I mean, you hear count-ins at the beginning of the songs, or perhaps a little bit of kind of vocal noise before the actual song kind of kicks off. I
Yeah,
mean, that in these days, that's really quite unusual. It's almost
yeah,
like a live album.
right.
And I also read that it was recorded to tape,
Hmm.
actual physical
2 inch.
2-inch tape.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very often these days either, does it?
I've never done it before. And when I started recording, it was on the VHS ADATs,
Okay.
and moved into Pro Tools, but I never actually got to use a real 2 inch tape. And it was always a dream of mine, but I was also scared of that too because of the commitment and the cost and
Yeah.
the technical things you need to know in order to work with tape. But all of my favorite records ever recorded were all recorded to tape.
Yeah.
None of them used computers. None of them had plugins. And I wanted to go through that. Not that I was trying to compare myself to my heroes, but I was trying to just learn from them and just follow in the footsteps of them. Not necessarily what's new in technology and the convenience of how of recording these days. I wanted to do what my heroes did. I wanted to walk in those footsteps for a bit. And it felt much more musical to me. We didn't have any computers on till the very, very end when mastering and we were doing levels, making sure everything lined up like that. But for the most part, it was all our ears and analog equipment and moving faders and until they sounded right. And for some reason, it feels more musical to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels more human, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean,
that's the aspect I think that most modern music is missing is that
yeah.
human aspect,
I
auto
mean,
tune. Or yeah.
yeah. I cut my teeth on a 1-inch 8-track recorder.
Hmm.
And my elder brother and I, we had a recording studio in London, and that we moved on to a Studer 2-inch tape, 24
Yeah.
track machine, along with an analog mixing desk. And that whole thing about, when you get to the mixing stage and you need to sort of like get some extra people in to be moving the faders up and down,
Oh yeah.
when we get to bar 15, just push that up, 3 dB or something. And it was
Like,
like, you've really got to figure that all out, and
oh yeah.
it's a lot of
That was
fun because you can't
that
do
was
it by yourself.
no, you need to play that like an instrument,
Yeah,
and you need to have the band ready to go too, and everyone's
that's
got their
correct.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, a very tactile experience. I enjoyed that. One of the other
Yeah.
things about the album that I really liked is this kind of really close sound. It's like it's really in your face. It's like if you were sitting 2 feet away from me and singing and playing acoustic guitar, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah.
Was that something that just happened through the way you were recording, or was that quite deliberate?
That was just the result of how we recorded it. And Brooks Sutton was the engineer, and it's his studio, and he's got these handmade microphones, and he's just really brilliant with not getting caught up in the trends of anything. He knows his equipment and he knows his room so well that I think that's a result of that, really, of just having a
Right.
brilliant engineer.
Let's get back to the kind of more mundane stuff.
Sure.
The album, is it actually out now, or is it still to be released?
It's still to be released. It's coming out on May 10th. It'll be out everywhere. We're going to do 3 singles before that. So
Right. So the current single is Shuffle On Through, is that right?
yeah, yeah.
And what else are you going to be putting out as singles before the album comes out?
I believe the next one is Cry Me a Creek.
Right.
And I think the third one is going to be Getting Right, which features Oliver Wood from the Wood Brothers.
Well, I'm going to have to bring this to a close. Otherwise, I get into trouble with my boss because he's always telling me you have to make these interviews shorter. I said,
Okay.
well, but I get to talk to all these interesting people, and it's very,
Yeah.
very hard to stop. Um, but I was going to ask, is there anything else that you would like to sort of say or announce to anyone who's going to be watching this video?
Well, I guess just keep an eye out for everything else I'm doing. I think we got, after this record comes out, we're going to be doing a lot of touring and hopefully having some guest spots and cool new merch and maybe some new extra singles coming out in the future too.
There you go.
And for anyone interested in recording to tape and turning off the computer, I say find someone who knows a tape machine, go give it a shot. You'll be pretty surprised about like the results you come up with. Yeah.
That'll be me.
Oh, good, good. Well, I hope it inspires people to do something like that. And
So I'm going to tell everyone that, hey, we've been speaking to Chris Kasper, and if you want to listen to some real music played by some real musicians, played on some real musical equipment, with the emphasis on the word musical, please check out this album. Chris, I'm going to wish you all the best for the rest of this year. Look forward to the album coming out.
Thank you so much.
And okay, I'm going to say goodbye and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.